Hi there, and welcome to Influence, a program hosted by the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. I'm your host today, Jessica Graves. I'm Director of Academic Advising in the College of Ag and Life Sciences. Today with us we have Dr. Jesse Morrison and Ms. Kaylin Adams. Dr. Morrison, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where you're from, what your academic history is, and a little bit about what you're currently doing.
Oh goodness. I'm originally from North Carolina. I grew up in the mountains over close to the border with Tennessee. I spent my life out in the woods and eventually kind of led me to just being interested in plants, dealing with how plants grow, the natural world in general. So I went to school in Kentucky. I got a master's degree at the University of Kentucky in crop science. Came to Mississippi State 11 years ago for graduate school, thinking I'd be gone in 3 years, and I never left. We're still here. I work in plant breeding specifically, but mostly I work in the world of forage agronomy, pasture crops, hay crops, anything you're gonna, graze cattle on, cut for hay, that sort of thing. And that kind of bleeds over into bioenergy crops, native plants, revegetation species, that sort of thing, which is great in the state of Mississippi. We have a great climate for growing, especially warm season grasses and legumes. We can grow cool seasons in the winter, so it's a wonderful place to be a plant researcher in general, and that's what keeps me here and keeps me busy from day to day.
Awesome. So I understand that you work specifically with native grasses, and
Yes.
What are some of those grasses, and specifically maybe can you speak to how those are being used in the industry or how your research is being applied to industry?
Sure. So the predominant native species we work with, we grow switchgrass. Upland and lowland switchgrass is probably the most popular species that anybody's gonna hear of or have heard of in the past. Big and little blue stem. We work with purple top, which is a trident genus. Tripsicum, which is one of my personal favorites, is eastern gamma grass. And all of those species, they can be used for forage. That's really how we kind of got into them in the first place. But the switchgrasses especially are also important for bioenergy, biomass production. They all serve a role in native habitat production. Animal food sources, habitat in general, not just for deer, whitetail, birds, turkey, anything like that would really benefit from those plants. So in the industry, really, the biofuel industry I kind of mentioned, they're really focused on big biomass producing crops. So switchgrass specifically. Outside of the bioenergy realm, the forage industry, blue stems are very important. Switchgrass to a certain extent. Eastern gamma grass is a very important forage species just because of the endemic, quality, crude protein, grazability. But those grasses are also used from time to time for like revegetation, disturbed areas, post-mining reclamation, poor quality soils where generally you don't have a lot of larger biomass species, early succession trees that are going to populate very well. Those grasses are generally pretty good at getting up, getting established, and kind of holding that soil in place.
Nice. So from an environmental standpoint, these native grasses truly play a positive role in making sure that we as agricultural producers are doing a good job of sustainable practices, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of folks, a lot of producers, if they enroll pieces of land in like the CRP program, those native plants are generally used to keep those CRP places, serving the role that they're supposed to if they're taken out of production. They're a landmark species for any sort of healthy land, use or habitat scenario.
Nice. Kaylin, tell us a little bit about where you're from, your undergraduate career, and maybe how you got involved in agronomy.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Southern Virginia. I grew up doing nothing but playing softball and got a scholarship to play here, so that's what brought me here. Yeah. My grandfather was a chemical engineer and worked with fertilizer, and so I guess I get the agriculture stuff from him. I've always just been really interested in plants and learning what they can do and how they can help people and how they can, like what Jesse was talking about with helping like wildlife habitat and stuff like that. It's always something that's interested me, and yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about more of the specifics about your research. How is it maybe being applied to production in a with producers?
So my project is a little bit of plant pathology and plant breeding. So I'm working with 4 different varieties of annual ryegrass, which is a cool season forage, predominantly used in the southeast. And so I am inoculating these varieties with a pathogen, Paricularia oryzae, which commonly known as blast, and much easier to say. So I'm inoculating these varieties, and I'm going to see which varieties respond in a certain way. I'm hoping that they will have some tolerance. Hopefully 2 of my varieties will. And so kind of in the grand scheme of things, if there is some tolerance in these varieties, it would be beneficial for producers to be able to plant earlier in the season, to extend the grazing season for cattle and stuff like that. And they don't have to worry about doing like harvesting and then like keeping that stuff over winter and doing all of that. So that's the plan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just a slightly different question, but you're a female in a, most would consider a male-dominated field. Tell us a little bit about that. So, and what words of encouragement would you give to other young females that are interested in getting into agronomy specifically?
I love it. I kind of see it as a challenge. I don't know. Yeah, most of my classes, there's probably like 2 or 3 other females. So, but it doesn't really bother me. It just kind of is what it is. But I would encourage other women to not be discouraged by that.
Absolutely.
Pursue what you want to pursue and just go for it. It doesn't matter if it's a male-dominated field or not.
Dr. Morrison, why don't you tell us a little bit about what got you so interested in these native grasses? How did that come about?
Well, my interest in native plants really didn't start until I came to Mississippi State. I'd worked around native plants a little bit, during my master's degree. Like I said, I spent my whole life kind of playing around in the woods, and I was in the Boy Scouts and learned a lot about plants. But I was lucky enough to get here and get a job with a professor already working with native plants. And so I kind of got plugged into his research program, and he gave me the freedom during my research to choose a crop, choose a plant, come up with a research idea, and between that and just the day-to-day work that we did with him, native plants kind of just became my life, whether I wanted them to or not.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did, but it wasn't really by any searching of mine.
Sure. Sometimes it's funny how life works out like that.
It is. It absolutely is.
Your job finds you, and things just land in your lap.
Yeah, and I wouldn't trade it. I get really nerdy about native plants.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like, because a lot of individuals may see a professor at a university having kind of an office job and in the classroom. Sure. Tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like.
Man, it depends on the day. I mean, right now, it's raining, so I am kind of stuck in the office. There's not a whole lot to do outside, but I avoided going and getting a PhD for a long time. I avoided winding up in a job like this because I thought I was going to be stuck in the office, but I mean, it depends on the day. I'll end one day covered in grease from a broken harvester, or the next day wearing mud boots, and the next day we might have to wear a shirt and a tie and go to a meeting somewhere. So it's always different, and it's absolutely never boring. Not like I thought it would be, because I definitely thought that being a stodgy old professor was going to be the most boring job ever.
Kaylin, you're shaking your head. Yes, yes, I agree. So again, kind of what does your day-to-day look like, and maybe what attracted you to motivate you to get a master's degree?
It was basically what Dr. Morrison just said, just not being stuck at a desk. Like, I know I have to do a lot of writing and reading and things like that, but just being able to be outside, and we're kind of tied to the weather, like what he was saying, so we have to stay on top of that. If the sun's shining, we gotta go. If it's raining, we're inside. So that was really what kind of drew me to that. I feel like that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're running out of time, but quickly, I'd like to know, where's your favorite place on campus?
Ooh, you want to go first?
News Park.
Okay.
Why?
Why?
I spent 4 years of my life there and I loved every second of it.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Oh, man, mine's a tie. I hate to do that, but it's a tie. My first favorite is right next door to that park. The left field lounge at the baseball field is there's nothing like that place on earth. I don't know. It's a unique experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. My other favorite place, though, is the Chapel of Memories. There are times where walking by that place makes my entire day change.
Yeah.
And I don't have another place like that calming around.
That's so amazing.
I love that spot.
Well, we are so grateful for you spending a little bit of time out of your day with us this morning, and thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
That's going to do it for us today. We are so grateful for Miss Kaylin Adams and Dr. Jesse Morrison for joining us. We'll see you next time on Influence.